Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Welcome back. We're going to go straight into our next session. If I could ask everyone to settle down. I want to welcome, this is the startup panel, and I've requested Starlene Sharma from Green Artha to come up and introduce the startups. For those of you who don't know Green Artha, I regard them as amongst the finest talent scouts in the country as far as climate tech is concerned, and they're also the best football coaches for climate tech. So, Starlene.
Thank you, Hisham, and thank you to the EDF team. After the many brilliant speakers we've had earlier in the day, it seems almost like stating the obvious to say that innovation is necessary for us to meet the climate objectives that will keep the planet livable. But one of the things that we firmly believe at Green Artha is that for innovation to happen at the speed that it's needed and at the scale that it's needed, that's really going to rely on startups and the innovation that startups do and the ability for startups to help get technologies and business models to the market. So we are thrilled to be an innovation partner to EDF, and we are thrilled at the structure of this event to build and bridge the innovation to industry gap. We very often see that innovations look for partnerships with government or with business and aren't always able to achieve it. And so to sit in a group like today and see so many businesses committed to innovation and have an opportunity to help bridge that gap is amazing. One of the things that is most special about this event is that in bridging the innovation to industry gap, we're really bridging that speed and scale gap that John was speaking about earlier. Today's startups are very often already working with or are definitively ready to start working with industry. And also, they're great examples of Indian innovation, both the affordability aspects, as well as the ability to build not just for India, but the ability to build for the developing world, as well as many of the economies in the West. Without further ado, I'm super thrilled to start discussing the startups that we have here today. Our first startup is working in the battery space. And the materials used for batteries are extremely polluting to take out, and they're extremely polluting when the batteries reach their end of life. Our first startup is ACE Recycling, led by Erin Wee. If you could please join us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thanks to the organizers for bringing us all together. My name is Arjun Gupta, and I'm in charge of strategy and investments at ACE Green Recycling, and we are making global electrification sustainable. What is one of the biggest problems with global electrification? It is that at the end of life, batteries still need to be recycled. Okay, there we go. If you use an automobile, be it a car, a bus, or a truck, you're using a lead battery. If you use a mobile phone, a smartphone, a tablet, or a laptop, you're using a lithium battery. Every person on this planet comes into contact with the battery in some way or form. And it's becoming even more and more proliferated in our system as we find more and more use cases for batteries. Here at ACE, we aim to make global electrification Sustainable by providing the world's only battery recycling tech platform that can handle both lead and lithium batteries. We are trying to clean up industry to bring it from the most polluting in the world to a zero waste and zero emission state, trying to bring it into the 21st century. The use of lead batteries is essential in modern life, but it comes with an outsized environmental impact. Sorry, I'm not pressing this button. The use of lead batteries is essential to modern life, but it comes with an outsized environmental impact. Currently, the major environmental challenges are due to the inappropriate recycling processes and operations. And this leads to higher air pollution, carbon emissions, and hazardous working conditions. This slide, for instance, describes how we stack up against traditional smelting in lead battery recycling. The traditional way of recycling lead relies on the burning of fossil fuels in hot furnaces. This inevitably leads to high CO2 emissions and the particulate lead emissions in human health. While the market for lithium batteries is still relatively small compared to lead batteries, with the widespread adoption of EV vehicles and mobile devices, forecasts predict that lithium batteries will eventually overtake the total tonnage of lead batteries, perhaps even as early as 2030. At ACE, we've developed proprietary technology to recycle both lead and lithium batteries, with achieved rates and conditions seen here in the most efficient and sustainable manner with minimal waste and zero greenhouse gas emissions. Using our proprietary low-temperature hydrometallurgical process to recover battery materials, we are already market-leading in our recovery rates, over 99% for lead and over 97% for lithium. This is a process that is better for the bottom line and better for the planet, contributing to a profitable circular economy. What is key about our technology, besides being emissions-free, is that we are also cost-competitive, utilizing non-hazardous reagents and also offering a much safer work environment, not just for the operators in the plant, but also the people around the plant. Our technology is already deployed at commercial scale, initially, first with a tolling agreement with Schneider Electric, and soon at tens of thousands of tons a year in a licensing deal with industry players like POCL here in India. We are ready, willing, and able to deploy our technology worldwide. We're setting up new facilities and new supply chains to bring our technology to the world. Batteries are such a huge industry with such an enormous global impact that will only grow as batteries become an even bigger aspect of our daily lives. And while this is a challenge and an opportunity for ACE, this is also a challenge and an opportunity for all players in the industry to adopt and work on a very similar philosophy that recycling needs to be implemented and to be climate positive and not a polluting activity. We are looking for partners to help us bring our technology to the world, investors, suppliers, and battery players all across the value chain. We are planning large-scale tech deployment to both India and North America, with large plants already undergoing serious planning. We aim to be at the forefront of sustainable global electrification and bring a revolution in battery recycling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun. Cooling is a major issue as we think about how buildings operate and what their energy is spent on. It's also one of the fastest growing areas for energy consumption by buildings. Our next startup has created a business model that makes cooling more energy efficient, as well as much more cost effective for businesses. I welcome Arjun Gupta from Smart Joules.
Good afternoon. I fell in love with energy efficiency in my first job in Lawrence Berkeley lab in 2008 because it is the first fuel, the low-hanging fruit that keeps growing back, and the most profitable and quickest way to combat climate change. At a time when 300 million Indians were running without reliable energy access, my first report outlined a pathway for India to provide 24/7 electricity to all Indians without the need to build a single new power plant. However, we failed to act. In the decade after my report, India built 140 gigawatts of coal-fired power plants. This is 140 more gigawatts than we need. This locked us into an expensive and dirty future. The next 3 decades look even more scary. A single end use, cooling alone, is going to contribute 800 gigawatts of new power demand to our grid. That's twice the total installed capacity of India today. The Indian government realized this and became the first in the world to release a national cooling action plan. And these are the outcomes that we target. 25 to 40% reduction in energy consumption by 2037. This is simply not enough. This is not going to get us to our net zero targets at all. We have to act. The Indian government also planned for 51% of the reduction in our carbon intensity of the economy to come from energy efficiency, much larger than renewables. We cannot fail to act this time. I started Smart Joules in 2014 with a mission to eliminate energy waste. We dove very deep into the cooling issue and we found a few surprising results. First, even though energy constitutes 80% of the life cycle cost of cooling, it hardly gets any attention. Everybody who's building a new cooling system is only focused on minimizing capital cost. Second, it's not only about cost. No one that we spoke to, not a single person, was happy with the cooling system. We are all uncomfortable, either too hot, too cold, or too humid. It's expensive. We all know it's too expensive, but nobody knows what to do about it. When there's a problem, we all run around and the vendors point at each other about whose problem it is. And the problems happen too often. We knew we were onto something big. The chance to create a new type of utility business model centered around providing cooling as a service. High quality, high reliability, low cost cooling as a service. Joule Cool is our design, build, own, operate, maintain, automate, analyze, and optimize business model. We eliminate energy waste with Joule Cool through 3 things: designing highly energy efficient facilities, investing in heavily efficient equipment, and automating operations through our proprietary IoT technologies. Take a case of a 300-bed hospital that is currently under construction in Hyderabad. Before Joule Cool, they were planning to underinvest in efficiency, minimize their capex, and lock themselves into 42 crores worth of energy expenses over the lifetime of the system. With Joule Cool, we are investing more upfront, more in maintenance, and slashing energy costs by 40%, delivering 15 crores of savings for this single mid-sized hospital. Not only cost savings, this is also more reliable, more convenient, and more sustainable. Now, this is not just a plan. These are 2 of our existing customers, and look at their journeys over the last 5 years. St. Stephen's Hospital has saved 9.5 crore rupees over the last 5 years and slashed their bills by 29% without making a single rupee of investment and with zero risk. The story of Kuppuswamy Hospital in Coimbatore is even more startling. 73% reduction in their energy consumption and a saving of 30 crore rupees in one hospital in 4.5 years. Right now, 45 facilities across India are experiencing similar results with savings of 35% on average across our entire portfolio. Till date, we have reduced carbon emissions by 94,000 tons, reduced energy costs by 113 crore rupees, which is equivalent to the annual consumption of 1.6 million average Indian households. The good news is that the opportunity to build a utility business model is not limited to cooling. It extends to 2 other energy end uses that are required in every building and every factory: hot heating and compressed air. So we want you to join us and help us in growing this business and contributing 29 million tons of carbon emissions reduction, 34,000 crore rupees of reduced energy costs over the next 5 years. Join us in this opportunity to build a new type of utility, one that is distributed, digital, profitable, and most importantly, puts the focus where it belongs, which is to make energy efficiency the default choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun. Methane is one of the fastest contributors to climate change. It warms our planet faster than carbon dioxide, which we all hear about. Isil Subian, Isil? Oh, Manny. All right, sorry about that. Manny, we're switching over to recycling for the moment. The next startup is working in recycling and leveraging the local communities and the local workers who are already making waste management in India some of the most efficient in the world, but doing this in a way that adds dignity and also helps keep our cities clean and our plastics and businesses able to use recycled plastics.
Let's see. All right. This thing is working. If recycling were an Olympic sport, India would win the gold medal. I'm serious about it. India recovers and recycles over 70% of its plastic waste, and compared that to the West, which is an abysmal 20%. This is largely possible thanks to the millions of informal recyclers, the street corner kabadiwalas that you see every day. However, for companies to make a transition into recycling and the use of recycled materials for their products and packaging, there's several challenges. Today, companies are willing to make the transition into using recycled materials out of their own volition or because of regulatory frameworks that have come into place. Today, the EPR framework mandates that companies must use at least 25% recycled plastic in their packaging by the year 2025. Hi, I'm Mani Vajpayee. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Banyan Nation. When you think about India and its transition into sustainable plastic, the imagery that hits you is the filth and squalor. The entire informal value chain is the one that drives plastic collection on the street corners. So if you're a large brand that wants to use recycled plastic, this is the imagery that comes to their mind. The other challenge that they see is layers of informal recyclers, the kabadiwalas, the larger traders, the larger aggregators. And then the bigger challenge is in the material quality and the material segregation. I'm just going to ask you to place your focus on the red bin. Just because all the materials are white, they put the materials in that bin. All of them belong to different polymer types, polyethylene, polypropylene, injection grade, blow grade, and whatnot. The other major challenge is the lack of formal recycling technologies in our country. So in spite of the desire and the regulation in place to transition into more sustainable materials, companies haven't been able to do so. Enter Banyan Nation. Over the past 8 years, we've developed two pioneering technologies. One, a data intelligence platform to map out all the street corner informal recyclers in our country and integrate them into a formal, sustainable value chain. And the second is a plastic washing technology that allows us to eliminate surface contaminants, thereby producing virgin polymer quality recycled material to help the transition into the use of sustainable materials. I'm just going to explain to you the impact that the company has had over the last 3 years. Over 500 million shampoo, lotion, and body wash bottles have been made from Banyan Nation's recycled plastic. So there's a very good chance that if you go to a store and pick up a bottle, that bottle uses recycled plastic made from Banyan Nation today. Surf Excel, Suncell, Tresem, everything that Sanjeev mentioned earlier are all made from Banyan's recycled plastic. Now, how did we go about this journey of mapping the informal recyclers? We developed a simple data platform mapping all the kabadiwalas. The dots that you're seeing on the screen is the everyday neighborhood recyclers that collect the waste that we dispose. We've learned some amazing things. For every square kilometer in our country, there is 4 informal recyclers, and For every 250 homes, there's one dedicated informal recycler. We started getting more data in terms of the collection efficiencies, prices, volumes, frequencies, and this is not just limited to 1 or 2 cities. We are pan-India in terms of our collection. The next step is, what do you do with the materials you collect? Look at the bottles that you see on the screen. They have labels, adhesives, inks, prints, remnant products like oils and grease. So we developed a pioneering technology that allows us to remove the inks, prints, and labels. For example, this is our plant in Hyderabad, and we recycle over 10,000 tons of plastics. 90% of the surface contaminants are removed. We use a series of steps such as chemical wash, hot wash, color sorters, resin sorters, and whatnot to develop a very fine quality recyclate. This is the granules that brands can use to make your everyday packaging. And what we've done, we've won a bunch of awards. I'm going to skip that. And as I was saying, hundreds of millions of bottles are being made in our country. And this is the last thought I want to leave you with, which is these bottles that are made from Banyan's recycled plastic are recyclable over and over again. So the Surf Excel bottle that is picked up by the street corner recycler again comes back to our factory, and then it goes on a fairly long loop. And I think I've run out of time. If you guys want to talk about this more, please drop by our booth. If you are an investor, we'll show how we've scaled up our business and our future plans, not just in rigid plastics, but in flexible plastics as well. And if you're an everyday consumer, please swing by. We'll tell you how to identify your street corner neighborhood kabadiwala. You can stop by and say hi to him for his all-important work. Thank you, folks. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Arjun, Mani, and Arun. If you could come up, we just have a quick question for each of you. You can go up. Stay in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So none of you is solving easy problems. As you think about the role of the business community, and just to keep it simple, we'll ask the same for each of you. What role or what is the most important thing that the business community can do to support your work and your going to market faster?
I can start first. I think, take action. I mean, take action, adopt our solutions. I think all of us have solutions which are good for the planet and good for your pocket. So what we need is belief. A lot of times when we pitch, our message gets lost in, I mean, sorry to say, but corporate BS. It gets lost. People have their own agenda. Somebody makes a decision, somebody doesn't make a decision. So my one request is make decisions. Make decisions to act and then talk about it. Once you've adopted a solution that has worked for you, talk about it and encourage others to do the same.
May I just add to that? I think it's about urgency as well. It's about understanding that this is a problem that is happening right now, that needs to have a long-term approach, that is not just about focusing on next quarter's growth, but about next year's survivability, about next decade's survivability. All of us are tackling serious problems that will impact our health, our children's health, our grandchildren's health, and this needs to be understood as a priority for today.
Well, I'll take a more tangible approach. I mean, these guys have laid out the vision statement. For companies like Banyan Nation, the two players here when you talk about business, one is the corporates that are the consumers of the plastic and putting the products out. So my request to the business community would be to take a stance on the adoption and transition into sustainable materials. Today, we have solutions like Banyan Nation. Make the call at an executive level, transition into the use of sustainable materials, and we are here to offer you world-class solutions. On the investor front, I understand why asset-light exponential models and marketplaces are important. But if everybody is a marketplace and I'm in the marketplace, you're in the marketplace, who's actually going to recycle? So look at asset-heavy models that create actual value. And Banyan Nation is an example where we've created engineering value and material value in the recycling of these materials. So I think a bit of mind shift or a paradigm change in the adoption of sustainable materials and in the way investment theses are actually constructed, perhaps.
Very good, guys. We'd love to hear more, but we do have more startups to speak
Is that right?
to
It says
today.
4:42. We've got four minutes, guys. Come on.
Thank you. Is there more?
Yes, I think we need to keep moving to
Okay.
stay
All
on
right.
time. I
Thank
think we.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Thank you. Earlier today, Hisham spoke about 50% of the buildings that are going to be coming up or that will exist in India in 2030 still have not been built. And building is one of the most energy intensive and polluting sectors, as is building management. Our next startup, run by Sriram, is Smarter Dharma, and they've built a platform to help builders build better and to help building managers manage buildings better for energy efficiency, water efficiency, and resource efficiency across the board. Sriram?
The clicker. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Sriram Kuchimanchi. I'm the founder and CEO of Smarter Dharma. And thanks to EDF and our well-wishers for inviting us here to share our story. And I'm really excited to share how we are trying to simplify adoption of sustainability. As Stalin said, buildings are a big problem. We have picked that as the first use case, but really the big picture, right? Now, my receding hairline tells you I'm no spring chicken, but in reality, what it means is we've worked for years, worked across sectors, spoke to a lot of businesses, worked with very progressive organizations, impacted 44,000 tons of carbon. But through all that, what we've understood is, see, the problem is the need is obvious, especially today in 2022, the need of sustainability adoption is obvious. Market driven, regulatory compliance, this is there. The challenge people are having is they're still stymied on what to do and how to do it. That's driven by sometimes not understanding what is the right value for their own business, value for their customers, what are the solutions, how to access them, how can I trust them? So these are some of the problems we understood and we distilled them down. We said, okay, can we create structure on sustainability adoption? Can we set goals? Can we say you need one-stop shop which has all vetted, dependable solutions? And that's where we came in. See, for us, I'm a technologist. I worked for many years in Silicon Valley. I'm an Ashoka Fellow. I understand the potential of scale. And that is a great marriage. And I feel that technology is going to help us scale and address these problems globally. The need of the hour is a strong data science. Everybody was speaking of data science, right? Data science platforms, which can help simplify adoption of sustainability. It should be intelligent, it should simplify decision making, and that's what we built. So we're excited today to showcase to everybody SD+, what we believe to be India's first sustainability resource planning platform. What it can do, exactly what I was saying earlier, right? We can actually scientifically set sustainability goals. We can dynamically rank building designs. We have a marketplace of materials and solutions which are vetted by us. We have reporting capability to automate ESG disclosures. So when we started working on SD+, the first use case was obvious. As Stalin was saying, nearly 50% of all greenhouse gases emissions are from building sector. But it also has the highest mitigation potential for the least capital. That stands out for building sector. Now, not just India and developing countries, but developed world also has aggressive infrastructure growth plans. So we see a perfect marriage between impact and opportunity. So let's understand the landscape of the industry. There are all these stages in the space and then all the stakeholders. Now, all these guys work, there are technology support for their function. But you see, there's one gaping hole there. The builder has no support. So we figured we're going to start working, empowering the builder, simplify their decision making, and eventually work with all the stakeholders in this space. So how does this work? What are we doing? some of the key features we have, like I said, for a building at design stage, we're able to set goals. We're able to automatically track them for you. We're able to give intelligent business insights like cost for sustainability, a payback period, other data points which will help you simplify your decision making. We're able to now auto select sustainability solutions. We're able to tell you what are the mandates for each of those. We're able to also customize them for a particular, today, a real estate project. We're able to do all that. And finally, like I was saying, a marketplace, right? Today, we don't have one-stop shop where you can go back and say, what is the best paint? What is the best tile? What is the best window? What is the best door frame? We are doing life cycle assessment for many of these ourselves so that you don't have to look anywhere else. You can come here and we'll tell you the best material. I can keep talking about the features we've built over time, but what I can tell you is we are at the base camp of the ascent in front of us, right? And the potential is huge. I don't need to give details here, I'm sure. But we have set ourselves bold goals. We have done so far so much of impact, over about 11 million square feet of new and existing buildings with many progressive partners of this kind. But what are we looking for now is our bold goal is to mitigate 1 billion tons of carbon. We want to be a real climate unicorn, one which mitigates 1 billion tons of carbon. And for that, we need every one of you to work with us. So come join us on this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram. Every fall or autumn, stubble burning takes place in North India, causing a 44% pollution spike, making it impossible for schools to operate, and also preventing people from going about day-to-day living. It gets so bad that the pollution meters can't even read how polluted it is. Our next startup, led by Sukhmeet Singh, has been not only transforming stubble into usable replacement fuels, but also is now creating a marketplace so that smaller producers can also supply to larger industry and make greener fuels a reality in India. Thank you, Sukhmeet.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sukhmeet, founder of A2P Energy, stands for Agree to Power. As a father of 2 young kids, seeing them breathe heavily every winter, put in a lot of thoughts in 2017, 18, when they were very young. They used to breathe very heavy in winters, and doctor used to say, don't let them play outside. That's a personal story, how this organization started. And then there are stats in terms of, it is impacting lungs of the kids, right? So that's even more worrisome, right? So it's a permanent damage which is happening every year for the kids living in North India. This stubble gets burned every year, around 35 million tons of it, just produced in the states of Punjab and Haryana. This is one of the major reasons of the pollution. But having said that, our coal power plants are dirtiest in the world, whether we agree or not. There are reports that will take billions of dollars to shift them to cleaner fuels. But now Government of India, through its policy changes, is making that shift. So on one hand, we have this stubble, which is produced every year in large quantities throughout India, crop waste basically. And on the other hand, we have industry, thermal power plants who want cleaner fuels, go towards carbon neutrality through a shift from fossil fuel to coal. This is where we bridge that gap. So we have built a platform which gives the farmers, small-time biofuel manufacturers, and a venue to consolidate their supply. And on the other hand, give these thermal power plants or the bigger users of the coal, be it cement industry, pharma industry, have a consistent pricing, consistent quality checking for whatever biofuels they are getting. How we do that? We have a fair bit of technology being used at a back end through a platform. We can use satellite images to see where all crop waste is getting burnt. We can then identify which particular districts are the higher burning points so that the collection cost reduces and there is an optimum collection and storage facilities created. That all work is done through a platform. This is the platform we have launched for whole of India. District-wise, we can see how much crop waste is getting burnt. Surprisingly, it's just not Punjab and Haryana. Almost every state in India still burns a lot of crop waste. So there's huge potential in terms of farmers getting their income generated, or small biofuels manufacturers. They can produce this stuff and sell to bigger corporates. This is just a state-wise comparison or district-wise comparison of the crop waste being burnt across India. Whatever we do, so we do a lot of impact reporting in terms of the pollution saved or the fossil fuel being saved from getting burned. So in terms of the economic numbers, we have acres saved from burning or air pollution saved. But everything, this is just on the fuel side. Apart from that, there is huge impact which happens at the grassroots level in terms of farmer entrepreneurship development or employment generation. We have got good traction. We have clients ranging from cement plants to FMCG sector to pharmaceutical sector. We've also started working with some of the bigger thermal power plants. We have contracts from Haryana state government. We've just won a 7 years contract from NTPC, which is our National Thermal Power Corporation, which is the biggest energy generation unit in India. All this basically tells us that there is a good direction which in India is moving. So on one hand, we have policy changes also being happening. So this is a Government of India notification which mandates not only just thermal power plants, but also bigger coal users to shift from coal to renewable power. We have team which has a technology background. Dr. Robert Berry, my co-founder, he was head of European Bioenergy Research Institute, also worked in IBM. So we have technology on one side, and on the other side, we have people who help us scale this as a more social enterprise because of the impact it's been creating. We've won a fair bit of awards for our work. We've won a Global Makers Challenge in 2019 under sustainable energy. We have been working with UN, India Clean Air Challenge. Plus, we've been also tweeted by Prime Minister's office for our work related to technology being used to solve this problem. Today, from the audience, we have two asked. One is connects from bigger corporates, which have responsibility of shifting from their energy sources of coal to greener fuels. And secondly, as we scale up, we will require more funding, both for a platform side, connect with farmers, supply chain setups. These are the two asks which we are here for today. We are outside the first booth. If somebody wants to have more discussion, we are happy to that. And we have samples of biofuels also. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sukhmeet. So we heard a little bit about the waste problem earlier, but waste is a big problem across India and also a valuable source of potential economic growth through the circular economy. Our next startup is putting the ease of recycling at one's fingertips. Abhishek, if you could please come up from Recycle, a very fitting name.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we as a country seen a lot of innovations. If I have to talk about a gig economy, everyone knows Swiggy, Zomato, because our lunch comes every day from that apps. We have seen shared economy, which is Ola, Uber kind of stories in the country. But as a country, we haven't seen any such big success story into the circular economy. And we at Recycle is on a mission to build that next story. So we are building Asia's largest circular economy marketplace. When I'm saying largest, I mean that because it is not a concept, it is not just an idea, because if we have to build such a successful marketplace in the country, the execution is critical. And when I'm talking about execution, what we are making sure that across the value chain, using our B2B marketplace, other circularity solutions, we are doing this disruption. So while we are talking, we are pan-India operations. We have more than 250 employees working on the ground, very precisely 278 employees, and we are growing every day. We are partnered with more than 150 recyclers in the country. We have channelized last month more than 40,000 metric tons of waste. And we are not restricted ourselves only for the one category, which is a plastic, but we are with the dealing into metal waste, paper waste. We are getting into the battery waste and tire waste as well very soon. So very proud to share that we are the only company from the India who has been selected by World Economic Forum as a tech pioneer in 2022. And also we were the part of the accelerator program in last year, only company from the India in 2019. So why I'm talking about the scale number, because technology is definitely needed for the scale. And that's the main driver to get that scale. In month of July, which is the last month, only in 1 month, we have achieved a revenue of $13 million. And you guys understand the potential, but outside the world never understands that big value exists in this domain. We are EBITDA positive from last 2 years. We are growing yearly 3x. So far, we are raised $27 million. So few awards, but I don't want to talk about it. I am skipping it. How we are doing it? Only tech cannot solve this problem. So we came with the phygital solution, which is a combination of physical infrastructure as well as digital infrastructure. So a lot of people ask how we are different. So we are not competing with any stakeholders in this ecosystem because we are the enablers. What we are doing, if you can see, we are connecting all the stakeholders like waste generators, be it individuals, bulk waste generators, industries, or even the waste management agencies, government collection centers, or even the informal aggregators. If you talk about the recyclers who are adding a real value in this ecosystem, that is the third stakeholder for us, and the fourth is the brands. We understand everyone has a different persona. You cannot build one solution for all these stakeholders. So our own tech, it is not any tools. We did not borrow any tools and build these things. This is all proprietary technology we have built in our headquarters. Every line of code has been written by us, and we understood all the personas and build multiple suites of the technology. And this is combination of it. I will talk the number because that talks about the scale. Like we are just touching, did a revenue of $24 million in last year. And this year specifically, we are even ahead of our projections, and this $125 million is looking very easy while I'm talking here. Our projection is like to reach by 2026, $1,258 million. Look at the numbers. That's the opportunity we are talking in India, what we have. So, but doing this is not enough because India has a different problems. So what we felt that we have to do a lot of disruptions and innovation. So the innovations, what we are doing, we are coming with Ministry of Urban Development. We have a partnership. We are coming with a hyperlocal infrastructure. 100 centers going to be very soon starting in the country this financial year. We are coming with a lot of solutions related to ethical sourcing. We have already launched with few corporates, which is a sustainability literacy platform, which is going to be again one of the first solution in the country. And I wanted to talk very specifically, which is India's first deposit return system, which has been launched in a Kedarnath, 11,750 square feet above the sea level. We are the first one to do any such disruption and innovation in the country. When we launched this solution at the base camp in the Kedarnath, waste collection there was only 0 to 5%. In just 3 months, we increased that to the 50%. And now it has been implemented across from all the treks, starting from Gaurikund to the Kedarnath. We are backed by, obviously this journey was difficult, but backed by investors like Morgan Stanley, Circulate Capital, Ajay Parekh sir's family office, even the Murgappa family's office. And we already have inbound interest from many global PEs, and we are in advanced stage of discussion. So we are looking to build next. I was listening that, is it possible to build a unicorn in a climate tech? Definitely it's possible, and we are taking that challenge, and we need your support to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. If you could stay up here, and if I could get Sriram and Sukhmeet also. Now, I love this idea that you brought up, Sri Rama, of a climate unicorn and that being 1 billion tons. And I think that it fits in really well with the idea that was presented earlier around having OKRs. So what would be the one lever for each of your companies as enablers of the market to reach that 1 billion or climate unicorn level?
So, so my idea of climate unicorn is really, when I said mitigate 1 billion tons of carbon, the normal approach saying in a company working in silos is not going to work. I believe every one of us have to work together. Every one of us have to work together. So climate unicorn is not a single entity, but it's an ecosystem. And if we have that mindset, and we do, I think we can definitely have, all we need is 43 such entities and the world will be off grid. 43 billion tons being a carbon footprint of the world 3 years ago. So, but the requirement is an ecosystem mindset and all of us to work together.
So I will answer this question like rather it's a learning. Right stakeholders are needed to build that story of unicorn. And this is useful for all of you. We failed. Before raising the funds from Morgan Stanley, we reached out to the investors. More than 30 pitches, 40 pitches has been done. The problem was they never understood what we are doing because they don't have that resources available in their company or any VC who doesn't understand climate tech. If you're going there and asking for the funding, it's a wastage of your time. So the stakeholder or the people who understand this opportunity, we have to go to that investor first. And that is similarly applicable that to even the clients. We have seen that the person who understands the value addition needs to be approached. Then only the $1 billion story can be created. If you are just trying to go to the wrong people and get that thing, it's a wastage of time and then efforts of every entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'll take a different approach, just from an energy perspective, looking at the scale at what coal is being used in India. I think for companies like us, which are working on green energy, certain policy interventions by government of India, if it is very straightforward in terms of, let's suppose, announcing we have to do away with, even 25% of the coal, it'll give such a boost to companies who are working on greener fuels that they'll become unicorn automatically. And the impact that will have at the base of the pyramid level, at a farmer level, will be huge. I think that's one thing which we feel if India takes up seriously in terms of policy, I think that'll boost a lot of companies in the clean energy sector.
Thank you all. This timer is not right, so we are done. But I think the big takeaway from this is that all of us in this room do have knowledge about how these startups can fit into the ecosystem. And so we can all be advocates for them as they go out into the world. With that, I think we're breaking for lunch. And I'd encourage all of you to speak to the startups. There's another 6 that you'll be meeting after lunch, and they're all equally exciting.